The Journey by David Hirst. Chapter 1. Ronnie Jenkins quickened his pace for the final leg of his journey. After spending a 10-hour shift of cleaning up after people who didn't know or even care whether or not he existed, all he wanted to do was sit down, eat his dinner, and spend some time with his wife Sarah before she went to work. Ronnie lived on a narrow, old-fashioned, terrace-housed street in which one side had a front yard and one side had only a doorstep. The Jenkins family were fortunate enough to be on the side with the yard, tiny as it may be. With the street being so narrow, the few people that were fortunate enough to own a car had to park with half of it on the pavement just to allow a single line of traffic through. However, this didn't help pedestrians any, as they themselves had to form into single file in order to pass the cars, which had taken up half of the pavement, making it very difficult for the people with prams or those unfortunate to have to wheel their pushbike to pass. A hedge from a property on Ronnie's side of the street jutted out, forcing him to lean his body over, which in turn caused him to bang his hip on the wing mirror of the car he was passing. He rubbed his injury and swore through gritted teeth while hoping he wasn't seen, and in turn expected to pay for any damage he caused to the mirror that the owner had failed to retract. As Ronnie approached his house, which was at number 42, he noticed an expensive-looking sports car parked outside. "The neighbors will think I've won the lottery," Ronnie thought with a wry smile. He had never really been into fancy cars. He didn't see the point, as he would never be able to afford one, plus, he had also never passed his driving test. Still, he stopped to admire the brand-new, shiny black vehicle with thick tires that covered the ornate, golden rims that would each cost more than he earned in a month. He then looked up at the tree it was parked under with a smile. Whoever had parked there wasn't local, as there was a reason why that parking space was always empty. As he hung his coat up in the hallway, he twitched his nose but couldn't smell any food cooking. Ronnie wasn't one of those old-fashioned types that expected his dinner to be on the table when he got home, but usually Sarah would make him a meal or a snack, and he in turn would always prepare her something for when she arrived home in the morning. "You're back late," Sarah called out from the kitchen. Whatever she was doing in there, it wasn't cooking. "The bike got a puncture, so I had to walk. It could have been worse, though." "It was forecast to rain," he said, flicking through the mail that Sarah, quite rightly, hadn't deemed fit to open. "Pizza flyer, Chinese takeaway flyer, mobile phone company, charity clothing bag. Did you see that Ponzi sports car outside?" he said, raising his voice above the sound of the kettle rumbling away in the kitchen. At least she was making him a cup of tea, unless it was pot noodle for dinner. Sarah didn't answer. "I dread to think what will happen to it when those little shits that put Mrs. Higgins' windows through see it," he said as he opened the living room door. Seeing a man in an expensive suit sitting on the edge of his settee wasn't the first thing he was expecting to find. His first impression of the man was that he was a salesman, but a very good one, if his suit and watch was anything to go by. The man stood as Ronnie entered the room, his shoulders level with Ronnie's head. Ronnie deduced that he was using his superior height as a ploy to gain a psychological advantage. To clear his mind of any thoughts of being intimidated by this, Ronnie smiled to himself at the thought of this man brushing away all the cobwebs with that immaculate haircut that occupied the seldom-used space a foot away from the ceiling. However, to Ronnie's discomfort, not only was the man tall, but he was handsome too, with pale blue eyes and a well-chiseled jawline that was shadowed by some short, crafted stubble. Some men might have thought their wife was cheating on them if they came home to this, but not Ronnie. Although he wouldn't swap Sarah for anyone in the world, it was blatantly clear that this man was used to fishing in more fruitful waters. "Ronald," said the man like an old friend as he offered his hand out to greet him. "My friends call me Ronnie." "Ronnie, then," he smiled. Ronnie left him hanging. "You can call me Mr. Jenkins. And you are?" "My name is Mr. Bennett and I'm leaving," suggested Ronnie. He was disappointed in Sarah. Not only had she let the salesman into their home, but he was also drinking out of his Boba Fett mug. "He's from the government," said Sarah, rushing in to inform him before he said something he might regret. "Yeah, selling something on behalf of the government, more like." "No, it's nothing like that," said Mr. Bennett, shaking his head dismissively. Ronnie wasn't sure what this man was used to, but contradicting him in his own home, or rented property in his case, wasn't going to put him on his good side. "I'm from the Government Protection Agency," he said, holding up the ID badge that was clipped to his jacket. To Ronnie this was a pointless exercise as he wouldn't know a genuine government protection agency badge from a fake one. Until that moment, he had never even heard of such an agency. No doubt, this whole facade was there to strike him with awe. "You don't know what we do, do you?" said Bennett. "Protect the government?" suggested Ronnie. Bennett laughed. "Yes, I suppose you're right there. But there is much more to it than that." This was the part of the sales pitch that was aimed to coax him into asking him what they did. "I don't mean to be funny, but I've had a long day and I can't be bothered with this, so can you just get to the point?" "I will, but what I have to tell you is classified information. You will have to sign a confidentiality agreement first." "I'm not signing anything." "Ronnie," growled Sarah through gritted teeth. "I'll probably be agreeing to put myself into debt or something," Ronnie scoffed. "Judging by your last bank statement, you're already there," Bennett pointed out. "Get the hell out of my house," Ronnie demanded, pointing firmly at the door. "It's not actually your house, is it? It's my name on the lease. So get out while your overcompensating car still has its wheels attached." "I'm sorry," said Bennett in an attempt to defuse the situation. "I shouldn't have said that." "Just tell me why you're here before I call the police," said Ronnie, holding up his phone. "Because according to Google, your agency doesn't exist. It's a top-secret agency." "Naturally," said Ronnie, twisting his lip. "Without signing anything, all I can tell you is that we're offering you a job." "What will I be doing?" "Something that you are more than capable of." Ronnie stopped himself, refusing to be seduced by flattery, when he began to speculate what his job in the government would entail. "So how much will I get paid?" "I can't disclose the amount, but I will tell you that it's a better deal than what you're getting now. Even a penny over minimum wage would be better than what I'm getting now. It doesn't involve me getting killed, does it?" Bennett laughed gently as he gained the confidence to sit back down. "I hope not." With the day and past year he'd had at work, the possibility of a better job had fueled his curiosity. "I'll sign something, but I want to word it myself." Ronnie was actually quite surprised when Bennett agreed to draw up a document that they both worded together, and so the document went as follows: "We, Ronald and Sarah Jenkins, agree not to disclose any information that Mr. Harwin Bennett has disclosed to us, punishable by the full extent of the law." "Okay," said Bennett, when both signatures were down. He folded the document and tucked it into his inside pocket. "I suppose there is no easy way to say this, but in 23 years, 2 months and 6 days' time, a comet is going to hit the Earth." Ronnie and Sarah looked at each other, wondering if they had heard correctly. "So what has that got to do with me?" asked Ronnie. "It isn't just to do with you. It's to do with your family too. Sarah here, Fallon and Jed. So what's the job? Do I have to stop the comet? I used to be good at Space Invaders. Is it because of that?" Bennett laughed again. "The comet is as big as the moon. Nobody is shooting it down." "So that's it?" asked Sarah. "The world is ending?" "I'm afraid so," shrugged Bennett. "So what has this got to do with us?" quizzed Sarah with narrow eyes. "Because I'm offering you the chance to survive. You have a bunker, am I right?" asked Ronnie. Bennett contorted his face and gave a half nod to suggest they were sort of right. "And you want me to help dig it so we can live there, but you said a chance to survive, which means that nothing is guaranteed." "There is a bunker. Thousands of them, for what they're worth. What we have planned for you is something much better." "Which is?" asked Ronnie. "A space ark." "Bullshit." "Ronnie," gasped Sarah. "This has got to be a wind-up. We can't even go to Mars. We probably didn't go to the moon, but you think we can go to, where will we be going?" "The ship will be going to a planet called Proxima Centauri B. Top secret data has confirmed for us that the planet, which is slightly bigger than the Earth and has a similar atmosphere, will prove the best chance of survival for the human race." "I've never even heard of it," shrugged Sarah. "Is it near Pluto or something?" "It is located in the Alpha Centauri system, the nearest star system to Earth, and is just under 4.25 light-years away. Sadly for you, you will never get to see it as the journey will take 142 years. If this is a joke." Ronnie looked to Sarah. "You're not punking me, or whatever you call it, are you?" "No. I wouldn't do that to you. I know what you're like." "Look," said Bennett, rising from the settee. "I'll give you some time to think about it, but I'll need to know soon. I'll be in touch." "Oh, and thanks for the tea, by the way," he said, passing her the mug. "Just think, you might even get to see this guy," he said, indicating to the cup before leaving. "Arsehole," muttered Sarah. The pair of them then went to the window to watch Bennett shoo the kids away. He then produced a tissue from his pocket to clean the white splats from the bonnet of his car. "What the hell just happened there?" Ronnie asked, still looking out of the window as the incongruous-looking car drove away. "I don't know," Sarah replied, shaking her head. "Why did you let him in?" asked Ronnie, breaking free of the trance they both seemed to be in. "I don't know. He looked genuine, and he more or less barged in." "And why aren't you at work?" "I phoned to say I'd be in later, which is basically now," she said, giving him a kiss on the cheek as she put on her coat and pulled her long, thin brown hair out from under it. "Did you make any dinner?" "Sorry. I didn't get chance, but there's a pot noodle in the cupboard,"